Ladies and gentlemen, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson sends a terrifying message to the Democrat Party, leaving them all with chills running down their backs. And even though The Rock may have lost all his muscle in order to play a role in a Hollywood movie, what some are saying could be adverse reactions and side effects from 7 too many jabs and boosters. But I guess he had to cycle off at some point, right? Nevertheless, he hasn't lost his ability to deliver a hard-hitting punch without even breaking a sweat. Once known as the people's champ, Dwayne Johnson, famously known as The Rock, is one of the world's most famous wrestlers turned actor. But appears to be lights out for old Dwayne Johnson's Oscar Best Actor contention post the Smashing Machine movie. But hey, look on the bright side. Taking the top spot amongst the top 10 highest paid actors in the world, well, that ain't nothing to sneeze at, and is the perfect way to introduce another bad actor into the conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, Kamala Harris has entered the chat, and not unlike the Tooth Fairy, she didn't deliver a very believable performance and is now resorting to hawking a mediocre book, touring several small cities across America.
And it's kind of funny. She waits. She's done a ton of interviews trying to hawk her book. She waits until she does the foreign press to sort of dribble this out. I love that she says, if I listen to the polls, if you listen to the elections, you would have never run again. Remember, this was in 2020, she was deemed the it girl in 2019 when she announced that she was running for the Democrat nomination. And she managed to spend massive amounts of money, got all this unbelievable press, and didn't earn one single delegate in the primary. Similarly, when she ran again in 2024, she again never earned a single vote. She was, Joe Biden got cooed out and she got plopped in because they double rigged the Democrat primary. So the idea that she's talking about how she's some defier of polls is so hysterical, because not only is she a defier of polls, she's a defier of elections.
Yes, Kamala Harris, the great defier. And what she just said during a recent BBC interview has the entire internet laughing at her right now. Kamala is the laughing stock and butt of all the jokes, getting roasted and humiliated from almost every single network as they can't help themselves, calling out the drunken master for her ridiculous claims and Freudian, or should I say, fraudulent slip of the tongue.
In terms then of what is next for you, you write very powerfully about the differences that many women have made to your life, whether that was your meeting with Angela Merkel or the experience of growing up with your extraordinary mother or the stories of your baby nieces, Amara and Leela. When are they going to see a woman in charge in the White House?
In their lifetime, for sure.
Could it be you? Possibly. Have you made a decision yet?
No, I have not.
But you say in your book, I'm not done.
That is correct. I am not done. I have lived my entire career a life of service, and it's in my bones. And there are many ways to serve. I've not decided yet what I will do in the future beyond what I am doing right now.
But you've been very clear that it's a possibility you might run again to become president. And in my experience interviewing politicians, when someone says I'm not done, it means they are thinking seriously about running. But when you look at the bookies' odds, they put you as an outsider, even behind Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I mean, is that underestimating you?
I think there are all kinds of polls that will tell you a variety of things. I've never listened to polls. If I listened to polls, I would have not run for my first office or my second office. And I certainly wouldn't be sitting here in this interview.
Ouch and burn. You could tell the moment Kamala had her whole world turned upside down on her head after Laura Kuenssberg layeth the smackdown on Kamala Harris's Rudy Poo candy ass with the low likelihood and defeating odds that the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, has a better chance at becoming 48 the leader of the free world, commander-in-chief, and the next president of the United States, before Cackles McWord Salad does. I was floored when I first saw this clip, and Kamala Harris tells the BBC interviewer that she may run for president again before the interviewer tells her she has lower odds to win than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. But no lie, I think Kamala Harris may have been blindsided by this possible future based on one simple fact. And hear me out. But there's a good chance she didn't write this book that she's hawking in the streets and ripping people off on Amazon, charging $26.99 plus tax for. I mean, it wasn't long ago, actually a little less than a year ago, when J.D. Vance dropped the mic on Kamala for plagiarizing her book by saying, "So if you want a president with their own ideas, then vote Donald Trump. If you want a president that copies her own ideas from Wikipedia, vote Kamala Harris."
A story that Kamala Harris apparently copied some significant chunks of her book from Wikipedia. So if you want a president with their own ideas, vote for Donald Trump. If you want a president who copies her own ideas from Wikipedia, vote for Kamala Harris.
After the VP's book was recently exposed for rampant intellectual theft, the Washington Free Beacon took it upon themselves to investigate further and have just revealed shocking findings. Behind me, you'll see in red the similarities between Republican Paul Logley's testimony and that of the VP's, who was then San Francisco's district attorney. Both testimonies were given on the same bill, just months apart. As you can see, the statements not only share identical language and structure, but even the same typos, suggesting minimal time and effort were invested in preparing her sworn congressional testimony. And if that weren't blatant enough, the Washington Free Beacon uncovered yet another example they called egregious. Harris copied a fictionalized story from the Polaris Project, altered the fictional location from Washington to San Francisco, and credited California for a rescue that never actually happened. Another clear example of plagiarism was found in a 2010 report on organized crime, where the VP copied several passages without attribution from Bill Locklear, one of her predecessors as California's Attorney General. And again in her 2012 report on human trafficking. And again in her 2014 report on transnational gangs, she copied several sentences along with footnotes from Roger McDonough, a New York State judge. A review of the VP's history has revealed a broader pattern of plagiarism than previously reported. This begs the question, what else has she cheated on? Don't forget to follow.
Man, oh man. That was some October surprise. Kamala exposed for fraud, plagiarizing Wikipedia into a book, stole the story from MLK, allegedly. I mean, after Kamala Harris got torched for trying to tell a touching story about her childhood history of civil rights activism. But as it turns out, she plagiarized the whole incident from a 1965 Martin Luther King interview. I mean, what won't Democrats lie about? MLK, Wikipedia, opponents, policies, nothing's off limits for Kamala's copy and paste spree.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you've got nothing to run on, you got to find somebody that's got something to run on. So she just goes out and just flat out steals one. It's called plagiarism in most cases and gets you in trouble. But with the media, they could care less because they are only focused on propping her up. Look, here's the problem. The Biden-Harris administration, she has signed on to every bad idea. Okay, let's think about this. She signed on to the new Green Deal infrastructure bill. She signed on to the COVID relief package, which caused inflation to ramp up to historic, to high levels, historic levels in many cases. She signed on to the terrible foreign policy of giving Iran money and lifting the oil embargo. She signed on to basically every bad thing. So at a certain point in time, she can't run on a record. I was with on an interview in which a Democratic strategist basically said, we can't run on our issues, so we have to make it about personalities. So now they went from personalities to just flat out lying.
When will she stop stealing words and start creating her own? I mean, Kamala Harris is still dreaming about the White House, even when bookies rank her below Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And she says she doesn't care about polls. Of course she doesn't. Real Americans were never her concern anyway. Her focus is always on illegal immigrants, radical Islamist groups, and identity politics, anything that can fetch her votes, or better yet, steal them. Born to an Indian mother and a Jamaican father, she still plays the black card whenever it benefits her. Kamala doesn't stand for America. She stands for power, division, and fake virtue. Plus, we all know those polls showing Kamala leading in 24 were all bogus and bullshit. And Seltzer. I mean, you could smell it a mile away, Rachel Maddow. And I'm not one to really put too much emphasis into polling anyway. Just show me the results. But this poll here seems legit. And over 25% of New Yorkers plan to leave New York City if Zohran Mamdani becomes mayor of NYC. And do you know why? Because, well, there's several reasons, but much like Kamala, he is a Marxist and will be a destroyer of cities, more than likely. I mean, I'm just glad we dodged a bullet nationally with Kamala, and I mean that in every possible sense of the phrase. I even saw this one today where residents in Kamala Harris's home state are reeling from the pain inflicted on them day in and day out by their current governor, Gavin Newsom. And for me to say, I don't know what could be worse, has me kind of taken back, because the answer is Kamala Harris could surely make things worse, right? I mean, I'd imagine she would tell Gavin Newsom to hold my beer, but I don't even see that happening, because she would more than likely crack open that champagne of beers and chug, 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 taking one to the head before wreaking havoc, the likes of which we have never seen before.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Why is Kamala Harris going to run again?
Yeah, that's a more perplexing question. It is the
That is
scariest
unanswerable.
question. It's unanswerable. But this is what we're hearing from the BBC, by the way. And this just came in. It's a quote from her. She says that I'm not done. I have lived my entire career as a life of service, and it's in my bones. I think there are all kinds of polls that will tell you a variety of things. I've never listened to polls. If I listened to polls, I would not have run for my first office or my second office, and I certainly wouldn't be sitting here in this interview. So she's had a lot of opportunities to talk about, whether she wants to run or not. She's just saying it now. I'm giving you a guess. This is my best guess as to why you're hearing it right now. It's because Gavin Newsom is rising to the top in terms of the chatter. Mm-hmm. And you're also seeing Barack Obama send hints out there that his it girl is actually not Kamala. It's Gavin Newsom.
Bartender, another round for me and my drunk friends over here. Kind of reminds me of her on the campaign trail, and after ignoring voters and the press, she hits the bar in Michigan with Big Gretch for a couple cold ones as we just sat and watched them knock back a few brewskis. Kamala Harris, blindsided by the truth, as usual it seems, doesn't invoke fear in her challengers, likely J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, or even excitement from her base, which I'm not sure she even has one anymore. But instead, all you hear is laughter from all corners of the internet and open-ended rhetorical questions that we just can't answer. What is she thinking running for president? Like, what's in her bones must be the alcohol, as it has pretty much consumed her entire bloodstream and has nowhere else to go. But on a serious note, Kamala Harris has been dealt more than one crushing blow today, and the first being the hard-hitting notion that a former pro wrestler has a better shot at winning and becoming president-elect than she does. A man with literally zero political attributes to put on his resume would drop the people's elbow on her in the center of the ring, but she's then hit with the cold, hard fact that Barack Obama and Big Mike Obama never liked her and didn't want her to run or endorse her after Biden. Their it girl, as they put it, was Gavin Newsom all along. Now, if you want to get a good laugh, check this out. Gavin Newsom is a failure. And watch this, because apparently no one else did. Newsom hosting a live stream with Barack Obama on YouTube, and only 264 people are watching after having been on for 20 minutes. Only 264 people watching Gavin Newsom and Barack Obama. Ooh, that's so sad and pretty freaking humiliating.
Why is she doing this now?
Well, I think when you talk about the polls, Charlie, I think she's behind literally Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in polling of who might be the best person. And I don't know, Rachel, why she's doing it now, because, you know, the election was largely last November about the border, and immigration was a top issue that President Trump drove home on. This is the border czar. We just had 5 straight months of zero releases in the country. We're smoking drug boats on a daily basis, and yet she was the border czar for which the most unprecedented crisis at our border has
It's
erupted.
such a great point, Griff, because they said they were securing the border and this was all that could be done. And then I think in 3 weeks that President Trump was there, we were down to 0 crossings. So the contrast is going to be horrific.
And of course, at this very moment, where all of the enthusiasm in the Democrat Party actually is on the communist wing with people like Bernie Sanders, who are suddenly now talking about how important it is to actually have an enforced border, suddenly, after years of running away with the open borders crowd.
But wait, hang on. I was told she wasn't the border czar. But that was just another lie peddled by the media to try and run cover for their loser candidate. And this is why we see John Fetterman, who breaks with Dems and, I quote, "America is losing." Well, you're freaking right, America would be losing big time with someone like Kamala Harris in charge. But we know that the biggest losers right now are, in fact, the Democrats, and they continue to just keep sending players out onto the field without a huddle, and it is a total disaster. Everyone wants to be the leader, but none of them know how to lead, or at least lead their party to victory. I think the funniest part of it all would be to see Kamala Harris attempt to run, have to fight off and battle her own in a series of Democrat debates, and then try and figure out what her campaign strategy and slogans will be, because she won't be able to say Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. Well, I mean, she could, but man, I didn't think this could be possible. And dare I say, that would make her look even dumber and more stupid than she does now and did last November. I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday. Election day night, and the numbers are rolling in, but Kamala is nowhere to be found. She runs, she hides, she sticks her head in the sand, while her staffers are forced to scrape off the words "congratulations" from the top of the cupcakes they bought to celebrate her win. And then they had to go and rock, paper, scissors who was going to have to come out and tell everybody to chill out or go home, and they'll regroup tomorrow because Kamala's in tears and perhaps maybe in a bottle of wine after getting her butt kicked by Donald Trump. I mean, maybe the only thing better or worse, depending on how you look at it, than the let AOC talk and speak strategy and allowing her to conduct interviews unsupervised. Boy, oh boy, what a disaster that is for the Dems. But to ensure and solidify yet another election loss would be to run Kamala again. The defeat would be record-breaking and absolutely hilarious to watch her get humiliated again. But for now, the biggest humiliation is actually having Barack Obama tell Democrats he doesn't like her, doesn't want her, and actually never did. It's just that his hands were tied in 2024, and those dirty, conniving Democrats didn't want to refund their donors cash. So instead, they put in their campaign killing czar and started writing checks to launder money through their B and C-list Hollywood celebrity friends. I mean, can you imagine what $2+ billion could have done for struggling families instead of padding the pockets of Oprah, Beyonce, Lizzo, Eminem, Cardi B, and the Call Her Daddy podcast? But let's face it, the Democrats are cooked. They don't have a deep bench, and they're seconds away from just needing to just give up and throw in the towel, and based on their available options they have right now. I mean, their best bet would be John Fetterman, but they want to primary him for being country first over party. And it's because John Fetterman knows the Democrat Party is in total meltdown right now.
Alex, can I get your thoughts on the Democrats and the names being thrown around for 2028? We've got Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, she's back, AOC, and then Pritzker, who's making that argument about borders.
When I see that result that has Kamala Harris at the top, I'm reminded of phantom limb syndrome, when somebody gets an amputated limb and they think it's still there. That's what Kamala Harris's numbers are. She's just the last person. She's the last person they remember. She is a reflection of the real lack of options in the Democratic field, because she's I think she's the worst speaker in American politics today. She's on a book tour right now, and she's reminding everybody why she's not president. I think Gavin Newsom, the fact that his numbers are not higher means that what he is selling, people aren't buying. They're not excited about him. I think young people in particular are not excited about him. And to me, this is just a reflection of the Democrats being really disappointed, angry, and annoyed by their field. They want other options, but I don't think this party is going to be able to give it to them.
Democrats, did you hear that? A reflection of a real lack of options, reminding everybody of why she's not president. Nobody's buying what they're selling, folks. And in fact, hundreds of thousands of mail-in ballots pour in as GOP looks to flip another blue state. And this is happening right now, folks, in key elections. So just wait and see how this plays out for midterms in 2028. But Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, and the Democrats in general and as a whole are in a death spiral.
According to our producer, I'm staying out of New York. So she's not rejecting the endorsement of a Democratic socialist?
Kaylee, it's another disqualifier. There's been many across the course of this campaign, but listen, we're out. As you said, we just finished our second of 6 different early voting rallies all around the state. Today is the first day of early voting here in New Jersey. All I could tell you is the energy is electric. The reception in minority communities has been overwhelmingly positive. And when Democratic mayors are endorsing the Republican nominee, it tells you how badly people want change. We've racked up at least 12 Democratic mayors that have endorsed me.
Yeah, and she racked up a Democratic socialist and someone who can't reject the phrase globalized intifada, and she can't distance herself from that. I find that to be striking. Jack, as I look at this and this tele-rally call you had with President Trump.
Democrat mayors are endorsing Republican nominees, while Democrat analysts and personalities are predicting no Democratic candidate has a real chance of beating a potential Republican presidential ticket.
Well, let's talk about the Republican options. ESPN host Stephen A. Smith ended his radio show on Thursday by predicting that no Democratic candidate has a real chance of beating a potential Republican presidential ticket of Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Listen to this.
Okay. Last tweet. Let's go with this right here, okay? Let's see what this is. At Nate City 11. Who has the best chance to defeat Vance and Rubio on a Democratic side in 2008? The answer would be no one. Not a damn soul. But I like Ossoff. I believe that's the correct pronunciation of his name. Also for Ossoff out of Georgia. I think that I like him. I like how he sounds. I do. But I got to be honest with you. If this Israel-Hamas deal comes out to be more positive than anything else, I don't think anybody's going to be able to compete with Marco Rubio, who Trump called maybe the greatest Secretary of State in American history. Marco Rubio gets things done. He's a former senator. He's now Secretary of State and National Security Advisor. He is no joke. I'd put him above Vice President Vance, I can tell you that much. Stephen A. signing off. Straight Shooter with Stephen A. Until next time, peace and love, everybody.
Emily, can I get your thoughts on this one?
I mean, Marco Rubio is political talent and has been for a very long time. I believed that even when Marco Rubio was sort of on the outs with Trump, but now that he's back in Trump's good graces, that certainly will endear him to the MAGA base. And on top of that, he is fantastic at speaking. I mean, I think that's something that comes up every time he's giving a major address. People look at Marco Rubio and they say, wow, this guy is really good at it. And it's true, he is really good at it. So I do think of the two, Vance and Rubio has the edge in a way people might not quite realize. Since Vance is the sitting vice president, you would think he would be next in line, but that's probably why Trump himself is keeping his powder dry and letting them duke it out.
Alex, what are your thoughts?
I think that Vance is clearly the front runner. I think that he's the heir apparent. He'll have a fundraising advantage over everybody else that puts them to shame. If Rubio wants to compete for it, he's probably going to have to leave the administration fairly early. I don't think he wants to do that. I think he's doing a lot of good right now. I think he likes what he's doing. And so, Stephen A. Smith may or may not be right that Rubio would be willing to be a VP on a ticket with Vance at the top. But at this point, I think there are a lot of institutional advantages that Vance has. And to his broader point, the Democrats just don't have anybody that's going to be able to compete. And so today, if you had to peg it, the Republicans just have a big advantage. But today is a long way from Election Day. And so a lot can change before now and then.
This is no joke. And the Democrats they don't have anybody who can compete. And it's not just conservatives predominantly mocking the odds comparison and expressing the general hopelessness for her candidacy, potentially benefiting Republican chances in a rematch scenario of sorts. And granted, yes, a lot can happen. A lot can change between now and then. But what remains to be a fact in this very moment is the undeniable, irrefutable truth that Kamala Harris looked like she had just seen a ghost after that BBC interview went sideways real fast. And ultimately, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson sent a terrifying message to the Democrat Party, leaving them all with chills running down their backs. But the worst part about it all is the idea that Kamala thinks she has a chance and wants to sit down to do interviews and state claims of how she is not done. But when you just look at the bookies' odds, they put Kamala even behind Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And I'm not trying to repeat myself here, folks. I'm trying to drive home a point. I mean, there is absolutely no chance in hell. It would be a cold day, fat fucking chance, even considering The Rock isn't even interested in a political career. Which means Kamala Harris, the former vice president, the outgoing presidential opponent, the loser, has less of a chance at being elected to become president than someone who isn't even trying to become president, like The Rock. And I mean, I know she says that she's never listened to polls, but perhaps this time she should. But here's the best part of it all, folks, and maybe one of the most important parts of my video, and that's this exchange between Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Valuetainment's Patrick Bet-David. Dwayne Johnson reminisces on fond memories as he recalls his days performing in front of millions and millions of The Rock's fans and says, "Trump used to watch me wrestle all the time at Madison Square Garden. It was great."
Trump used to come watch me wrestle all the time at Madison Square Garden. It was great. First time I saw him, he said, "Let me see the eyebrows." I said, "Got it, there it is." That's cool. So he was a fan. He watched you as a fan. Oh, yes. Yeah, that's cool. He used to come to Madison Square Garden all the time. Big spoilers. Whether you love Donald, you don't love Donald, it doesn't matter. But tried to assassinate him. There's no room for that. And yes, despite it being who we were in that moment, I still believe in my core that is not who we are as a country. So him standing up in that moment, you wanted to see that.
Dwayne Johnson's September 2024 appearance at the Vault conference, where he shares fond memories of Donald Trump attending his WWE events and broadly condemns political violence after the July assassination attempt, emphasizing national unity over partisanship. And this, folks, ladies and gentlemen, look, this represents a pivot from The Rock's 2020 prior endorsement of Joe Biden as he announced neutrality for the 2024 election. His remarks imply a Trump endorsement, and the clip highlights the growing industry discontent with California's progressive policies, including high taxes and production regulations driving film work abroad. Mind you, President Trump is fighting for America by introducing tariffs on foreign-made films as he continues to make America great again and bring production back home. But more importantly, if Dwayne Johnson did decide to take a swing at politics, he would be Kamala's worst nightmare. And not even because he's polling above her amongst Democrat Party options, but because he would run against her. He would run as a Republican instead. Ladies and gentlemen, the Democrats are absolutely cooked. Take care. God bless. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks for watching.